Muted.
We'll give it a second or two. Here it goes. Okay, so for those people listening in, I muted everybody out. This is January 12th, believe it or not. I can't believe it. You know, we're into the second week of January already, or the third week, depending on whose calendar you're looking at. So January 12th, 2016, we're talking about a whole bunch of things, but I'm going to start off this call using the concept of Building Fortunes Radio. So if you're listening in, we're talking about Building Fortunes Radio, and every single person that's here has a chance at doing something with Building Fortunes Radio if they want to, because you're part of this course. So here we go. Let me talk a little bit about the radio show and how to use it. First of all, for us, we use a platform on Blog Talk. So I'm sitting here right now, and I might as well just push the buttons and show you if you're listening and you don't see this. But if you go to www.blogtalkradio.com/Building Fortunes, you will be able to go to our specific radio show. Now, every website has what the end user sees, like the people looking at the website, and an inside or administration section, and that's what the other people see. So, meaning the admin people. So there's a admin, and then there's another one. So on Blog Talk Radio, as you'll see, there are tons of distractions. They're doing whatever they can to try to generate their business and whatever that might mean. Besides the subscriptions that they charge us, they do a whole bunch of things on their own. So we use the Blog Talk Radio platform for several reasons. So it's kind of a mutual usage, if you will. We use their technology and their platform to put this up, and then also they're a pretty big website, so they get a lot of traffic, so our customers get some traffic from Blog Talk Radio. So the domain name blogtalkradio.com has a lot of traffic, just like mugshots.com or linkedin.com or yellowpages.com. They have a lot of traffic, so we use the Blog Talk Radio platform, and we have a subscription, and we have X amount of shows that we do. And however, this is also where people can go listen to a show live or recorded. So blogtalkradio.com/Building Fortunes. The only problem, if there's a problem, is I don't want to brand Blog Talk Radio. I want to brand Building Fortunes Radio and our customers. So that's why we bought buildingfortunesradio.com. So what we do is we take the shows on Blog Talk Radio, and then we put them wherever we want, including buildingfortunesradio.com. So in essence then, we get the play, quote unquote, from two places, but we get the branding when we're giving it to other people and the promotion when we're giving it to other people from Building Fortunes Radio. Because I don't want, if you're saying, did you hear us on Blog Talk Radio, most people either don't know what that is or it doesn't really brand anything. I like the concept of, did you hear us on Building Fortunes Radio better? So when we give people that, we usually give them a separate square, I'm going to call it. So I'm going to come over here to a new browser, and I'm going to type in www.buildingfortunesradio. And what we do is we give people, I call these little squares. You know why I call them squares, because they're kind of like squares. And when we scroll down a little bit more, people can listen to a specific show when they click on these buttons. And as you can see, we've done a lot of radio shows. And some of our radio shows we've done like once or twice, and some of our radio shows we've done quite often. Like Scott Johnson has a radio show that we do every Saturday night. LB Hassan and I do one on Thursday nights. Chris Molinari does one on Thursdays. We have Dr. Jerry Brown, who's up next at 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesdays, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a lot of live shows, and we have some previous ones. Like, for instance, Jeremy Allen did a series of 4 or 5 radio shows with us, and then Dr. Awaton's on every Saturday, and then Chris Molinari is our cancer survivor. So we do a lot of really cool different things. And we put them on Building Fortunes Radio for those specific reasons. Another reason why we do Blog Talk Radio is because they become available on iTunes. Now, I know many of you are probably familiar with what iTunes is, but for those of people that are not familiar with iTunes, when Mr. Stephen Jobs built that smartphone, he decided that people would actually pay for music. And he built iTunes to be able to have people pay for music. He was one of the first ones, actually was the first one that did it on a smartphone, because he and his people, of course, invented smartphones. But they were really the ones that, started off with people buying 99-cent music instead of whole album music. So you can kind of buy the songs that you wanted, and that's what they did on iTunes. Well, iTunes has grown into something huge, and Blog Talk Radio has the ability then to put us, our Building Fortunes channel, on iTunes. So a third play, if you will, maximizing and leveraging what we do on Building Fortunes Radio, because we use the Blog Talk Radio platform. So in essence, it's all about people being able to hear and see you in lots of different places. So the iTunes works together with Blog Talk Radio, which then works together with Building Fortunes Radio and everything else that we're doing. So it's just kind of another way of getting the message out and promoting. So that's a little bit like what we do. Now, if you decided like, well, what do I have to do to be on a radio show? For all intents and purposes, a radio show is, for all intents and purposes, the same as a conference call. You dial into a number from your side. You dial into a number, and that number is 347-237-4097. So you dial into a number, and basically I connect you. So I'll do a little demonstration over here. So I'm going to go into our account. I'm just going to show you our studio. And I know some people are listening in through the phone, so they don't see this. So when you go and we do a movie of this, you'll be able to see what I'm showing you. So this way it's not a foreign subject. But once we go log in, we'll see that our guests log in over here. And there's my host login number. And then over here are recordings that we uploaded that we can play. And this tells us how much time is left, and I can edit some of the ways the things are displayed over here as well. And if I wanted to directly connect to the radio show using the microphone on my computer, I could do that, but I'm more comfortable with picking up the phone and calling in, so I call in, but I could use Direct Connect as well. If I wanted to invite you as a guest, I click on this button, and I can shoot you an email that has a link that then will be clickable, so you could be on your computer as well. But only because internet connections aren't always as stable as telephone connections, I'm still a little bit on the traditional side where I do the traditional thing over here. So what we have is that's my little control panel. So I would see callers coming in on the left-hand side, and then if we wanted to actually click on live callers so we can actually do some live calling things, we certainly could. But most of the times what we're going to do is we'll have this radio show, and then when we're done with the radio show, I give it to one of my guys who then puts it on Building Fortunes Radio, and then we can kind of do whatever we want to do from there as well. I'm just going to log out of here. So this kind of shows you the little control panel. Then what happens is when we do our radio shows, we have 3 parts that we record. We record an introduction, which is usually about a minute. That plays. So it's got some music in it, just like you would imagine, some words from us. If we're going to do something specific to your show, we'll blend in some words specifically to your show. Then what we do is we have a commercial, same thing, about a minute, plus or minus a few seconds, and we talk about whatever we're going to talk about or promote. And then we have about an exit. So an exit's about a minute, and in essence, those 3 recordings we can play at any time. And if I want to play background music and stuff like that, I can just up-record that, or sound effects, we can do that as well. We can really go as high-tech or as low-tech as we choose. But for the most part, for you to be involved, all you really need to do is just make the phone call. So you would dial that 347-237-4097 number, and then you would be able to participate, if you will. So for instance, I'll just use as an example. I did a radio show just recently for a specific person from a specific company, doesn't matter which one. And I gave them the link, and they forwarded that link through like their social media stuff. And I'll use an example specifically. Well, I'll use it kind of like, I'll be specifically vague, but I'll use a specific example. I did a radio show with a woman, and her name is Jody. And Jody was with Vima before Vima closed. And we have a very interesting story relative to Jody. I did a radio show promoting an event for her on Saturday. Her event was supposed to be the next Saturday. Vima gets shut down on Monday. She called me up on Monday and says, now what do I do? I said, well, I don't think we should really promote that event because your company's been shut down. So she put her life on the back burner for about all of 10 seconds. And then she went out hunting for another company, and she found one. She's doing really well with that new company, which is not surprising because that's what she does. She's working her tail off. And she's a builder. So we just did another radio show about the new company and really about her and one of her events. Well, she posted that on her Facebook. And then someone in her family, who she probably wouldn't have normally approached, was kind of poking around as like, you know, what's my, Jody's been married 3 times. So somebody from the third husband's family said, I wonder what she's doing. And Jody might not have ever really approached this person aggressively. But she saw her on Facebook and then heard the radio show. And from hearing the radio show, the family member called Jody and said, I was wondering what you were doing. I heard you on Building Fortunes radio, and I want in. I don't know if she said exactly like that, but I want to do it. And Jody called me back, and she kind of said, I have a very interesting story for you. I might not have ever really gone after the people from the family, if you will, the third marriage family. And, you know, we all know what that's like. Sometimes you work with warm market people. Sometimes you don't work with warm market people. And sometimes it's a little bit awkward. She said, but that radio show really made a big difference. And this woman joined my business because of Building Fortunes Radio. So we did the show. She promoted the show. She sponsored some people. And she'll be able to use that show forever because it really wasn't dated, meaning it wasn't talking about something that would be outdated. Well, we have the same example that just happened recently with another company. So another company that we did a little radio show for, nice radio show. They posted it, got phone calls from people already saying, I'm joining that company because of the radio show. So the radio shows have a magnetism, if you will, or a certain attraction, and it's because people listen to a radio show a little bit different than they might listen to a sales pitch. So LB Hassan did one of the really nice radio shows. So if you really want to hear a good one, generically about home-based businesses, find the one for LB Hassan, the very first one that we did, because it was really heartfelt and it was really a great story. And then you can listen to some of the other ones as well. And the cool thing about the radio shows is they just work. So what I'm doing now, like for instance with Jean-Luc, is we're talking is we're going to book Jean-Luc to do a radio show on Friday night at 11 o'clock p.m. my time, 8 o'clock p.m. his time. He's in California right now. And that show is going to have some really nice pull because he's going to be working with people even in a foreign country. And ordinarily, you know, they might not hear Jean-Luc on the radio like this. So the cool thing about it is you could use it for your recruiting as well. So whether it's one show or 100 shows, you can use these as really good marketing tools. So when done the right way, it's really done well. And we can certainly do the right thing for you. So what I would say is, of course, anybody that's listening in, I know Ken Black and I did a really nice show as well. I know lots of other people have done them too. Sharon, if you want to do one, Ron, if you want to do one, we'll pick a time where we have some openings. We'll get you done. We'll do a recording. It'll be a good show. I'll help you every step of the way. The idea that you might never have done one or whatever, don't even think about. Don't even worry about that. We'll do one, and you'll see it'll come out well, I am sure. I'll help guide you through the different and various things. And this way you'll have your own thing, where now you'll be able to say, when you're talking to people, did you hear our radio show on Building Fortunes Radio? So where does this all fit? It fits into lots of things, one of them being included in your icebreaker. There's, of course, a method to my madness all the time. It's just being smart, and our job is to make sure that helping you sell and sponsor more people is easier. So on an icebreaker, right, just a little bit of icebreaker training. On an icebreaker, we always say your icebreaker should create safety and then curiosity. Why should I continue to listen to you, and what is it, are the two questions I learned a long time ago from Brian Tracy when he was talking about doing an initial approach. So there's two questions. Why should I continue to listen to you? And the next one is, what is it? So Brian Tracy said there's two questions, and I heard something a long time ago from Ron McMillan, and he said something about a crucial conversation should generate safety. So I said, I'm going to blend all these things together. Now, by the way, I blended them all together before I heard Ron McMillan's stuff, but he put a label on it that I really like called safety. So a good icebreaker generates safety, generates curiosity, does not satisfy. So it's called generate. And the next thing would be, in a strong icebreaker, would be, don't ask a first question that can hurt your, and I'm going to use the term selling, only because I sell stuff, position. So golden rule of a good icebreaker is you generate safety and curiosity, and never ask a first question that could hurt your selling position. And by the way, this is so simple. As you can see, you can write this on literally a napkin if you could, or certainly a scrap piece of paper or a Post-it note. And this is what most people miss when they're making phone calls. Oops, I got to spell satisfy right. Satisfy. So now let's take this thought process and blend it into using a Building Fortunes radio show. If you called up someone and you said, hi, you know, Joe? Yeah, this is Peter. Sure, you can say whatever you want, something similar to. The reason why I was calling is we're doing some advertising, and we've actually been on Building Fortunes Radio, and I was just wondering, have you heard my radio show on Building Fortunes Radio? Now, first of all, he doesn't know who you are. Second of all, he probably hasn't heard us on Building Fortunes Radio. So those two things generate safety and curiosity. So when you say to someone, listen, hey Joe, this is Peter Mingils. I don't know, but I'm just kind of following up. Did you hear my radio show on Building Fortunes Radio? Or did you hear my company's radio show on Building Fortunes Radio? See, that's a safe question, because it's, even though he probably will say no, you'll be able to say something else because he's going to say, no, what's it all about? Or you'll be able to add on some drama if you wanted to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you missed it. It was on Friday at 8 o'clock, p.m. Eastern time. Maybe you were busy doing something. And he's going to say, but what was it all about? So again, your icebreaker then was creative. Because I could send you a link. Where would you want to send me the link? Do you want me to give you a text number? You want me to give you your email? Where are you going to send me a link? And he's going to say, what is it all about? And there's your icebreaker. Oh, it's about, showing people how to make money working from home. Or it's about using the latest technology to be able to blah, 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 whatever the statement might be. But Building Fortunes radio shows are absolutely the best, or one of the best, ways to be able to break the ice. It's easy, it's natural, it's fun. Most people, you're generating that safety and that curiosity, and you'll see that for the most part, nothing works 100%, but this will work a lot. And it'll work a lot better than most people would ever imagine. So then you could obviously just get used to doing that sort of stuff, and plenty of phone calls. Now, also, of course, you can do the same thing on a voicemail. If you're going to leave a voicemail, you might as well leave a voicemail with saying something like, I was wondering, we're following up and seeing if you heard us on Building Fortunes Radio. We do a session at 8 o'clock on Fridays. If you didn't hear it, I'll send you a link. Why don't you listen to it when you get your email? Anything to be that, and if you remember, the impression that you want is a swan. Somebody that's smart, somebody that works hard, somebody that's ambitious, and someone that's nice. So it all fits. So if you're using the tools, wonderful. If you're not using the tools, start using the tools if you want to. I can't make people use something if it's not their personal style. But I just want to make sure that it's all available. And there would be nothing more that would make me happier than to have all the people on the Making Sales or Excuses training take advantage of our special offer of doing that for you, because it could only help. It can't hurt, I don't think, but it can certainly only help. Okay, so that's Building Fortunes Radio. It fits into our concept of that business in a box. And it also fits into that concept of that integrated marketing principle, or IMP, which we call IMP. Our integrated marketing principle, which is also using all the tools that we have, because you can blend that with MLM News, and you can blend that with the humongous ads, and you can blend that with everything else that we do. Okay, so I'm going to just push a button over here. And hold on one second, guys. I'm spazzing out.